Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Christensen, this is Horror 101 with Dr. AC, and welcome back to Scare-A-Thon 2024, benefiting the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project. If you'd like more information about the fundraiser, you can go right to this video right here, and you can get all the information from that video. There will also be a link to that video at the end of this one, so stay tuned. Today we're going to be talking about the last voyage of the Demeter from 2023. And if you're up on your Dracula lore, you'll know that the Demeter was the name of the ship that brought Dracula from Transylvania to London, where he proceeded to rain terror upon everyone. And in the book, chapter 7, we get little bits and pieces of what happened courtesy of the captain's log. But that sequence of the voyage from Transylvania to London has never been told in its full glory on screen until now. And it's interesting that they decided to take just that portion of the book and expand it into a feature film. Now, way back in the early 2010s, my friend Doug Lamro had written a book called Dracula's Demeter, and it covered similar terrain in that it was talking about what happened on that voyage. And I thought that was a great intellectual exercise of exploring that. Doug's book is fantastic. I believe you can still find it online through a couple different outlets. And I'm sorry to report they didn't use Doug's novel as their source material. Instead, the story came courtesy of Brage Shoot. The film is directed by Ovredal, who's probably best known for directing Troll Hunter and The Autopsy of Jane Doe, both of which are fantastic. He also did Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that was produced by Guillermo del Toro. So he has a nice pedigree as far as directing horror films, and this is by far his biggest film to date. And I have to say, this film looks amazing. It is so gorgeously done in terms of production design. When you watch the special features, you see that a lot of it was done with practical effects, but then there was a ton of digital wizardry that was laid on it. It's got a great cast. We've got Corey Hawkins, who people might know as Dr. Dre from Straight Outta Compton. It's also got David Dasmalchian, who people know from Late Night with the Devil, and Liam Cunningham, of whom I've been a fan since Dog Soldiers. Also in the cast is Javier Botet, who people might know as the Spanish Doug Jones, which means he's a fantastic creature performer. Rarely gets to show his own face, but he's been seen in a lot of different films. He's very tall and lanky, and if you look up on IMDb, you'll see, oh, I've seen him in that and that and that and that and that. So the story is set in 1897, and the captain of the Demeter and his first mate are looking for people to fill out the crew. And they bring aboard Clemens, who is played by Corey Hawkins. He is of African descent, and he is well educated. He's also versed in medicine, which comes in handy when they discover there's a young woman on board who is very near death and needs some blood transfusions. You might see where this is going. And anybody who's familiar with the Dracula story knows that nobody on this ship is making it to London alive. And that may be one of the things that kind of goes against the film, is that we already know the fate of the crew. We know that nobody's going to survive. So it becomes a matter of how are they going to meet their fate. Now, the creature design by Goran Lundstrom is fantastic. It's very much kind of in the Nosferatu vein. We have a bald-headed, many-fanged creature. In this incarnation, Dracula is much more a monster than a man. And as you might have guessed, Javier Botet is going to be the one playing that monster. And with his long angular frame and flexible movements, we see a creature that moves very differently, but there's also a ton of digital sweetening that kind of makes him even more monstrous. And as much as I enjoyed the film, it is beautiful to look at. It's very well told. It's well directed, well acted. The problem is that all the work is done for us. On our recent Paranormal Activity episode, Brett Neveu points out that Paranormal Activity asks the audience to kind of lean in and fill in some of the blanks for us. The Last Voyage of the Demeter does everything for us. It shows us everything. We don't have to use our imagination at all. As a viewer, all we have to do is sit back and watch. The actors do it all. The production design does it all. The director does it all. There's nothing really for us to do other than simply witness it, because it's all been done for us. And that seems like a strange issue to bring up, but it is one of the things that I think goes to the key of what Hollywood gets wrong with horror, is that it doesn't invite the audience in. It simply puts it all out there and then wonders why we're not necessarily engaged. Because as beautifully produced as this film is, it's really hard to get emotionally engaged in the fate of the characters or in the situation. We already know the outcome, and everything is so polished and everything done through digital effects that there is no mystery. There's no wondering how they did that We know that somebody sat there at a keyboard and figured it out, which is a shame because there's so much to admire here in terms of the technical expertise. When you look at the behind the scenes featurettes, and there are several of them on this disc, you get to see, oh, wow, none of that ocean, none of that skyline, none of that cityscape, none of that is real. All of it has been created in a computer and then digitally composited in. There are certainly times where you're like, okay, that's probably not real. But again, done so skillfully that you never really think about it. And I do wonder if that's something that Hollywood needs to think about, is to maybe leave something for the audience to connect with. Again, going back to Paranormal Activity, we were actually leaning in to see what clues we might catch. And there was so much stillness and so much simplicity to it. And it seems odd to be comparing Paranormal Activity to a big budget Hollywood production, but I think maybe there's something to be seen there. Now, it's not to say I didn't enjoy the film, and I think it's a worthy addition to the Dracula canon, but I don't know how often I'll be returning to it, even though I'll probably be recommending it. So that is the last voyage of the Demeter. And again, this is Scare-A-Thon 2024, benefiting the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project. If you haven't already made a donation, please consider going to the link here in the description of this video and make a small donation or a large donation. Any help is deeply appreciated. Hope everybody's having a great weekend. We'll see you soon.